and welcome. We're at the Women Deliver Conference in Copenhagen. I'm Andrea Sankey, and thousands of people are gathered here now to discuss how to improve the lives of women and girls worldwide. Now today, we'll talk about the importance of young people driving change. And in the studio, I have with me a passionate young leader who's become a social media sensation after sharing his story at the Women Deliver opening ceremony. Yemurai Nyoni is a Zimbabwean social sector entrepreneur, HIV/AIDS activist, and passionate opponent of child marriage. Yemurai, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, tell us what it was you said at the ceremony that became such a sensation on social media.
I just said that my strength doesn't depend on the weakness of others. And that as I seek to be a better man, a stronger man, the best version of myself, or as my partner or women strive to be the best version of themselves, it doesn't depend on, or it doesn't rely on weakness. It's not drawn from a place of weakness. It was to say that as I pursue what I desire, as I pursue and try and fulfill my potential, it doesn't have to come at the expense of a woman. It doesn't have to come at the expense of any other person. So it was because I think the world we live in is quite a selfish world. It's where if I'm going to be strong, if I'm going to be good, if I'm going to excel, oftentimes I have to do it at the expense of another person. So yeah, I think that's the problem we have, and that's what drives inequality. And to be able to address that, we need to all be strong together.
We need to change that attitude. So one of your main focuses, though, is fighting the battle against HIV/AIDS. You're from Zimbabwe, Southern Africa. It's a huge problem. And one of the bigger issues is that girls are so much more at risk, yet they are the least educated. Yeah. Why is that?
I think part of it is that in our country, it's sort of taboo to talk about sexual and reproductive health. It's taboo to talk about sex, like bottom line. And we also don't talk openly about issues like gender-based violence. In my country, for example, it's very difficult for parents or any community individuals to sit down and have an honest and open chat about sex, about HIV prevention, about strategies that even I can take, or I have a young sister that she can take to prevent HIV. So I think part of that is just the silence around issues of sexual and reproductive health. And part of it also is that in schools, it's difficult for teachers also to broach the topic because they don't understand yet the power of education. They don't understand yet how sexual and reproductive health education unlocks opportunities for us as young people to be able to prevent HIV and to better our health odds.
And you know you can change that.
Yeah, I know. I think that's the most important realization for me as a young person, to know that I can contribute to changing the conversation and getting people to talk about sex, to talk openly about it, and to understand how to prevent HIV. So I was part of a network of young people that actually took that responsibility on in the country to say, we're young people, we can drive the response. HIV prevention belongs to us. The management of HIV belongs to us. The drive to increase HIV testing and counseling belongs to us. We want to raise an AIDS-free generation, and we need to be custodians of that entire movement. So we have the power to do that.
And you've touched on something you're a huge advocate of, and that's mobilizing youth to make that change. Tell me more about that. Why, first of all, why have the youth been marginalized in so many of these processes, and why are they so important in actually pushing them forward?
I think it goes back to the issue of strength and weakness. A lot of our leaders draw their strength from weakening others. They oppress women, they oppress young people, so that they can gain and increase their strength and continue to influence discussions on health and on development. So I think the importance then for us as young people is to, first of all, have access to these spaces, to step up and show that our voices are valuable, to show that we are also stakeholders and shareholders in the future of our countries. I think in the next 14 years, in 2030, I will be 40 years old. I believe I'll be in a place of influence. Those who come before me will also be in places of influence. And if we don't prepare the generation that will lead now and that will lead tomorrow, then I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So a lot of the leaders, for example, in the African context, just work on preserving their own generation and focusing on containing and retaining their power, as opposed to preparing the next generation to lead and transform the continent. But the future of the continent in Africa and the world as a whole belongs to young people, and we need to become more responsible and responsive to that fact.
I'm probably going backwards here, but how did you personally become so passionate about an issue that's not yours? You're a man and a man in a male-dominated society.
Yeah.
You could have easily sat back, taken the advantage, and let life go fairly easily by without struggle. Why did you decide not to?
I think the first thing is I have a young sister. And the second thing is I have a very tenacious, strong mother. And I think drawing from both these individuals in my life has taught me first the value and importance of women and of how much it takes to deliver progress for children and for the world. And also, I've seen how unfair the world treats women and treats girls. My young sister, in the world she lives in, is skewed against her and is in favor of me. So just seeing that injustice, and when she comes back and tells me stories of what she has to deal with, really has, I think, just touched my conscience. At the same time, in the work that we've been doing, I've met so many phenomenal young women who've taken time to share their stories. Some have said, listen, I can't share it, but if you can, please do. I've met young women who've worked or been sexually exploited. I've met young women who've survived child marriage, young women who live with HIV and have managed to change the story of their lives, have managed to navigate around the challenges in society and prove their worth. And I feel they shouldn't have had to work as hard or have to have dealt with what they dealt with. And if they were able to assail these challenges, how much more would they be able to transform their lives and their communities if they didn't experience what society made them experience. So just knowing that, I think it's a weight, it places a weight on your conscience, and it's very difficult to not do anything about it.
Absolutely. Okay, Yemurai, unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much, though, for sharing.
No, thank you.
Very inspirational story. And thanks to our viewers for joining as well at Women Deliver. Please stay tuned for more great programs. You can tweet your questions and comments, as always, using our hashtag WDLive. And you can find us throughout the day right here on this channel live. Bye-bye.